We're ready. I want to call to order the Sycamore Township zoning appeals. Roll call of the board.
Mr. Ramacon.
Present.
Mr. Tenight.
Present.
Mr. Lugers.
Here.
Mr. Schwartz.
Present.
Mr. Schultz, present. And of course, we got the new guy, Mr. Holst.
Present. Okay. Next is pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, we have to re-elect, we have to elect who's going to do what. So,
I told you earlier, I'm going to make a motion to keep everything the way it was in 2023.
So that would be
Luger's.
Mr. Luger's chair, Mr. Schwartz vice chair, and Mr. Schultz the secretary.
I'll second that motion.
All right, let's have a vote.
Mr. Ramacon,
Yes.
Mr. Tenight,
Yes.
Mr. Lugers,
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz,
Yes.
Mr. Schultz, yes. You don't get the vote.
Okay, that was quick. Approval of last meeting's minutes were November.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Let's have a vote.
Okay.
Did anyone have any comment? It did not sound like it.
You have any comments at all? Mr. Ramacon, you weren't here. You can
Yeah, he was
vote
here.
if you feel like.
I was here.
Oh, he was here?
Yes, Mr. Tenek back here. Yes, I was late.
Oh, that's right.
I was early.
Mr. Ramacon,
Yes.
Mr. Tenight,
Yes.
Mr. Lugers.
Yes,
Mr. Schwartz.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz, yeah.
okay.
Oh, we can get to that.
Okay.
Okay, next, what we have is anyone who is going to speak here has to be sworn in. So anyone who intends to speak at this meeting, please stand up, raise your right hand. I swear I'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Okay. All right, next is new business. The way this is going to work is the staff is going to present the application to us. We will question them. When we're finished with that, we will have the applicant come up here and they can tell us all they want about the project. Then after they're finished, we will go to anyone else who wants to speak. So that's the order of business. After that, we will close it. The board here will discuss it and have a vote. Now, one of the things is we're looking at trying to do something that is not permitted. So when you speak to us, you have to explain what the hardship is that is causing this to causing you to put in your application. So that's what we want to hear from you. All right, let's go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Case SYCB 240001. Address is 8096 Buckland Drive. Request is for a variance. The applicant is Eric Feiler. Thank you. Parcel PIN is 06000001403132. Current zoning is B single family residential. Zoning compliance issues, section 10-7.1, height and open face area in front side yard. Requirement is no fence or wall shall be located in any defined front yard. The request is to allow for a 6-foot privacy fence that encroaches 34 feet into the front yard along School Road, running 66 feet to the rear property line.
And just one item to note, the Board of Trustees in the past couple of years reviewed the fence code, and they actually changed the fence code to no longer allow front yard fences. The old code, allowed them, but no longer they allow it on an interior lot or a corner lot. So it's just a recent change in the past couple of years by the trustees.
Okay, this is basically the subject property is a corner lot at the corner lot at the intersection of Buckland Drive and School Road. I always like to give you guys the basically the cages, basically online report. We go to the next one, please. Okay, this is a front view of 8096 Buckland Drive. Lot size is 0.29 acres, that's 12,632 square feet. Okay, here's a split rail fence that was voluntarily discontinued by the resident because the resident voluntarily tore down the non-conforming split rail fence. It does not provide a legal conformance to rebuild a fence in its place in the front yard. The resident failed to discuss the matter with Sycamore Township staff prior to tearing down the split rail fence and erecting the 6-foot tall privacy fence without a zoning certificate. Any new fences erected are required to comply with zoning resolution. Here's a shot basically of the fence that comes off the side, basically the back side of the home on the school road side. It approaches 34 feet into the front yard, as I said, along School Road. Next, please. Okay, this is across the School Road side. The fence extends back with the rear property line of 34 feet. It is in the front yard, likely approximately a foot into the right of way as well. It placed in the location of the previous fence. Okay, this is a aerial view. The location of the previous split rail fence shows the fence sited in the right of way, approximately 34 feet from the house. Location of the privacy fence is in this location.
So, and we did measure and Kevin did measure the privacy fence with the wheel, and it does extend 34 feet out. And if you measure from the side of the house over, the property line is about 33 feet. The fence on the previous fence on this area, you measure about 34 feet. So the presumption is the new privacy fence is in the location of the old fence. And currently that runs along School Road is actually in Hamilton County right of way. It's actually in the right of way.
Okay, the 6-foot tall privacy fence runs 66 feet along the school road in the front yard. The zoning resolution discusses several standards by which a variance request is to be reviewed. I'll go through them now. Okay, 21-6.1, general standard. No variance shall be granted pursuant to this chapter that is greater than the minimum variation necessary to relieve the unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty demonstrated by the applicant, such a showing shall require proof that the variance being sought satisfies each of the standards set forth in the section 21-6. An unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty is not present in this case, nor does the applicant satisfy each of the standards outlined in section 21-6. Therefore, the variance request that seeks the 6-foot tall privacy fence in the front yard should be denied. 21-6.2, unique physical condition. The property in question is similar in the size of topographies surrounding properties. The fact that the property is a corner lot is not a practical difficulty. 21-6.3, not self-created. Alleged hardship is self-created because a 6-foot tall privacy fence was installed in the front yard without a zoning certificate, not in accordance with the zoning resolution. 21-6.4, denied substantial rights. The applicant would be permitted to construct a fence as of right in the side and rear yards, provided it met the requirements of Chapter 10 of the zoning resolution. A corner lot is not a hardship. If the fence were to be proposed in accordance with the zoning resolution, a substantial rear yard area could still be fenced in. 21-6.5, not merely special privilege. The applicant seeks a special privilege to allow the front yard 6-foot tall privacy fence. The zoning resolution is clear. Section 10-7.1, no fence or wall shall be located in any defined front yard. 21-6.6, resolution purpose. The variance The variance would result in the use of the subject property that would not be in harmony with the general and specific purpose for which the resolution and the provision for a variance is sought and were enacted. The zoning resolution is clear. Section 10-7.1, no fence or wall shall be located in any defined front yard. 21-7.7, essential character of the area. A, variance would result in use that would be materially detrimental to the public welfare. Yes, the zoning resolution expressly prohibits fences in the front yard. The 6-foot tall front yard privacy fence is substantial and substantially alters the character and aesthetics of the neighborhood. B, would materially impair any adequate supply of light. The privacy fence so close to the road, likely sided the right of way, creates a tunneling effect for motorists on School Road. What if other lots on School Road were allowed to have front yard privacy fences which furthered this tunneling effect? C, would substantially increase hazardous conditions in public streets due to traffic parking. The fence extends 34 feet from the house. In review of Cages, the house is sited approximately 33 feet from the property line that fronts School Road. Above is the site plan provided by the applicant. It appears a 6-foot tall privacy fence replaced the location of the non-conforming split rail fence that was sited in the front yard of the property. As such, it appears the current 6-foot tall fence is located in the county right of way. D, would increase the danger of flood or fire. No, it would not. Would unduly tax public utilities and facilities in the area. No. Would endanger the public health or safety in light of C. And if the fence is sited in the right of way, it could endanger public health or safety. Staff recommends denial of the variance request to allow the fence in the front yard. Alternative site arrangement, staff recommends an alternative site arrangement which would require the fence to not be sited in the front yard, but to allow relief from the 25% front of house face setback rule, 10-7.1C, page 4. To allow the fence to run parallel to the house front corner lot, School Road elevation. See the proposed site arrangement to the right. The site arrangement would allow for a fenced backyard of approximately 4,300 square feet.
So just to illuminate that, this is kind of the aerial of the subject property. You can see the location of the previous split rail fence where the fence was installed, the 6-foot privacy out by the road. Staff would propose, and it would require a variance to place a fence where the box is.
Mhm.
The code currently states that a fence would have to be set back 25% the length of the house. So about right here, and then run back. In an effort to, provide more space, the township does recommend to allow it to the corner, but certainly not in the front yard that is so visible and conspicuous from the road. Are there any questions?
Go ahead. I don't have any questions for you, but I do for the applicant.
Okay.
We'll wait for
We'll
that.
wait for
one.
that.
Yeah.
Could you speak a little bit to the impact of the tunneling effect and why that's to be avoided?
On review of the zoning resolution related to fences, which was recently reviewed by the Board of Trustees, the elected officials, and they enacted new code. It's very clear. They note that a no fence or wall shall be located in any defined front yard. And then the code is silent on corner lots because the township views corner lots the same as interior lots in terms of fencing. I think the tunneling effect is it's to push fences back away from the road, so you don't have fences so far out in the road, so they're not in your face. There's a healthy setback, and the framers of the code, the Board of Trustees, were very explicit that that no fence shall be placed in the front yard. Now, the existing now voluntarily taken down by the applicant, the split rail fence. If that had stayed up for another 4 years, that was a legal non-conforming fence. The township had nothing to say about it. It was an existing fence. But when that fence is voluntarily removed, now the expectation is that the new fence be cited in accordance with the zoning resolution, and that did not occur.
I guess to follow up on that though, so there's the issue with the tunneling effect is an aesthetic one, not a public safety one.
I think the purpose of the code was that the Board of Trustees did not want fences so far close to the road.
Yep.
You know, I describe it as a tunneling effect. Is that an official zoning resolution definition? No, but imagine if every house were granted a variance to have a 6-foot privacy fence, it would be like the 71 sound barriers.
Mhm.
And I think that's what the township is expressly looking not to have. This would be kind of a case in point case of what the township is not looking for in terms of front yard fences or any front yard fence.
Thanks.
And when did they pass this? Recently, you said?
I think it was in 2020 or 2021. It's been very recent. It was in the past couple of years. Not in 2023, but it was prior to that.
Yeah, I think, I think that we requested that they clarified that they look at side yard fence, the corner lots, and they chose not to change anything. So that was sort of like, okay, we know about corner lots. We're still sticking with the rules. And that happened, what, 2 years ago?
Okay.
Yeah. Because we did request clarification back then. And that was the answer. Okay, we finished with questions for the board
The staff, yeah. I think so.
staff. Could the applicant come forward? Give us your name and your address.
Eric Feeler, 8096 Buckland Drive.
Okay. What we want to hear from you is what's the hardship to approve it?
Traffic, you have semi trucks hauling ass down that street every day. There is hardly any sheriff's patrols. The house behind me is, they were up when it's warm outside on a weekly basis, butchering chickens, pigs, whatever they can butcher to cook or grill at their driveway. They will put their trash along the back side of the fence. I have two dogs. Their beer, their trash, just their trash, they throw in the yard. My dogs would get sick. I got tired of taking to the vet on a weekly basis to get anti-diarrheal medicine or whatever, whatever is causing that. I currently have a 2-year-old, as you guys may have saw. And I wanted her safe. I don't want, she's highly sensitive to motorcycles, semis, anything loud. It's hard for her to play in the backyard. I have found that since putting this up, it's been a much more enjoyable experience for her to enjoy.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions?
No, I
from
just
the
don't, I
board?
don't think I should be subjected to the people behind me having to watch that, or they would park their cars on where you're saying the right of way is. They'll have cars lined up there in the summertime, grilling out, partying. I've called the sheriffs numerous times to have them moved. Nothing happens because it comes back on a weekly basis. It's consistently there. I'm tired of looking at it. I can't do anything myself. The sheriffs don't do anything. So that's what I could do without going overboard and damaging someone else's piece of property.
Okay, are they questions from the board?
Does it have to be the size that you have it there?
I'm so what size?
The size?
6 foot height?
No,
Aerial size.
area size.
Oh, that's just where the other fence was.
We get that a lot.
Yeah. My contractor's right there. He didn't make anything new. He pulled the old posts up, put them right in.
I understand.
Figured that was the easiest way to do it.
You've seen the proposal? Is there?
I've
any
seen it.
Objection to what they said?
There is. I don't think I haven't actually. My next door neighbor to the left of me is sitting right there. I just don't feel that. Why should us on a corner lot be subjected to to fencing in more or less half my yard when everyone else on the street can have a fully fenced in yard. So imagine if we're trying to sell our house, there's two identical houses on the lot or on the street. One's got half a fenced in yard, one's got a fully fenced in yard. Which one's gonna sell first? And who wants, if you were to buy a house, would you want to buy a house with half a fenced in yard when it could be fully fenced in? I mean, that's gonna be, I mean, there's a letter from an appraiser, attorney's gonna present. I mean, doing that could reduce the, property value, do a resale.
Questions? Why did you remove the previous split rail fence?
It was dangerous. I don't want my toddler running around getting caught in rusted wire, rusty nails, replacing 3 or 4 boards every few months in the summertime because the split rails are rusting out.
Did
And
you have
like,
a survey?
honestly, I wanted privacy from the people behind me in the road.
Did you have a survey before you put in this fence? To know where your property lines are?
We did not.
Okay.
Again,
a
we use
question.
the Cages maps too.
Sir, I have a question. You said you had a contractor.
Mr. Thurston right here.
I think the big question is why you didn't get a permit. And was your contractor aware of needing permits for fencing in Sycamore Township?
So I called and spoke to one of these gentlemen a few months before we put the fence in. They assured me that they would not grant me a permit to where the fence is at now. As I was speaking, I said, well, what would happen if I did? His word, he said there would be a fine. I said, well, how much is the fine? Is it weekly, monthly, yearly? Can you tell me more about that? They said it's a $100 fine one time. I said, well, that's it. He said, yeah. I said, well, I'm gonna take my chances and put up. If I have to pay a $100 fine, I'll pay a $100 fine. And now we put it up. They sent me a letter. I called him back, and he's like, no, we'll just fine you until you take it down. So I'm also misled by these gentlemen.
Did they say anything about permit?
Yeah, he said you would need a permit, but we will not grant you one because there's no fences in the front yard.
So you went ahead and did it without a permit knowing,
I did.
okay. Thank you for your honesty.
Sorry.
Any more question of the applicant?
If I have to pay for a permit today, I'll gladly pay for a permit. If that's the resolution.
Any more questions?
I have none.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak?
I just want to ask one quick question.
Okay.
Who put the fence up? You didn't? And you didn't ask him to get a survey?
Hold it, let's get him up to the microphone. Give us your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Chris Thurston. My address is 2069 Antoinette Way, Union, Kentucky, 41091.
Okay.
So we went out, the fence, actually, if you click back 2 pictures, you can see that the fence is actually falling down. There's some of the split rails are down, some of the box wires down. It was definitely a safety concern.
Yeah, I'll pull up the street view here.
The age of the fence appeared to be 15, 20 years old at this point, maybe even older. Obviously would fall under the grandfather guidelines on location historically. Maybe not on this time, but you can see on the back, there were some down boards along the back at the time we showed up. I don't know when the date was on this picture exactly.
2016. See if there's a 22, yeah, 2016.
Yeah, so along the back line there, where the people who live to the north, I guess they're just taking liberties on the fence line. There's some trees cut down, actually fell down, damaged the corner. There was just a big pile of logs there when we arrived. We were there for 3 days. Most of the time, that right of way was filled with cars from the house there. It was just a trashy mess kind of the whole time. So, yes.
Well, the
Go ahead.
question was, you've
Did
done
we get a survey?
fences, obviously.
Yep.
Have you had permits before?
We have.
You have. Have you asked your clients if they have a survey of the property?
We did not ask.
You didn't, but do you? When you
Yes,
do, when you
if
do
it's
fence-
if it's a new fence, yes, and there's no marked boundaries, we do. Other times we'll go through and we'll metal detect for the pins, so we can check the corner pins.
Sure.
But since the age of this fence, and obviously you guys are clearly on the ball, you're not letting anything slide, and for this fence to be there 15, 20 years, they've seen the location of this fence numerous times, was our understanding. And it's an assumption, we shouldn't have assumed, but one that's been there this long and it's not raised a red flag thus far.
The fence was permitted before this board was even formed. Hamilton County used to do it and they let it fly.
Okay,
So
would that fall kind of,
that's kind of where we are.
would it not
Yes,
be
as long
grandfathered in?
As he said, as long as he didn't move anything,
Right, and,
we're not gonna say anything.
and all we
But
did was
once
pull
you
the
change
post.
it, then you have to get a permit.
The posts were in the exact locations. We pulled the post, we dropped new post in, actually saturated them. So the fence is in the exact same place. It has changed. I know I've counted 5 times now. You mentioned the rear of the house and you've mentioned the side of the house twice. We keep referring to this as the front yard. What defines front yard?
So under the zoning resolution, the front yard for a corner lot is, your traditional front yard here. You have your rear yard, but if you follow this elevation of the house, anything to the right of it on a corner lot, because there's a road elevation here, is front yard. So this is all front yard here, if you can see my cursor. Front yard, and side yard right here, and then everything behind the house up to this elevation here, this plane, running parallel with that elevation of the house, that's where the rear yard starts. So on this side of the plane, it's rear yard. On this side of the plane, it's front yard because of the presence of the road elevation.
You did mention the tunneling effect as well. You can see the distance from the fence up to the street. If you pull up a Google map right now, and you can see, you get a true tunneling effect on the east side of the street there. The green, the trees and the brush, they're 25 feet tall, and they're literally touching the side of the road. I do see tunneling effect there. You have quite a bit of space where it wouldn't be so much as a tunneling effect. They're on the west side.
The code is, if you could just address the questions to the board, and if they have a question for me, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, so my question would be is, who's responsible for taking care of that tunneling effect that's created by the trees that are actually touching the side of the road there?
So the zoning resolution only, in this case, we're talking about trees and fences. The zoning resolution doesn't regulate vegetative plants or trees. The zoning resolution regulates fences in this case.
Okay, so
I mean,
I guess we get the,
you're trying to wrap my words. What I'm saying is
absolutely not.
the fence is in the front yard, which is not permitted. So thank you.
Okay.
You,
I'm just-
you had
just-
said that the road is Hamilton County's road,
That's correct.
therefore it's their right of way. Hamilton County would be the owner and maintainer of that right of way. So any trees within that right of way is the responsibility of the county.
Right, I was just bringing up that if we were afraid that this was causing a tunneling effect and it's so far from the street, we know that to the east is definitely a tunneling effect. Does that need to be addressed as well? So if you spin to the left,
If you want to address that, you can do it with the county.
I was just saying, since that was one of the items you
That's-
were using,
We're not responsible for that, so we can't rule on that. Okay.
We're finished. I have another question.
okay,
Any other questions? Because I have another
do
question.
you have one for me?
No, actually for the owner.
Okay.
We get this a lot. Corner lot seems to be, and I always ask. I don't know how long you've lived there, but did the realtor or anybody tell you when you bought a corner lot that this is the idea of the 2 front yards?
No, absolutely not. That was never disclosed.
We
I
have-
actually, my father is in the real estate business. I do some side work for him, and this is the only township that has that issue with the fencing in the corner lots that we've incurred.
Right. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Well, I'll kind of respond. I live on a corner lot. I'm an urban planner. In Boone County, we don't call it a front yard. We call it corner side yard. Fences are not allowed in corner side yards and they're not allowed in front yards either. So this is not an isolated regulation.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Does anyone else wish to speak? Give us your name and your address.
John Kellner, 12113 Cedar Breaks Lane, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45249, township resident for over 40 years.
Okay.
And before that, my father was on the zoning commission here. I would like to say that I don't see a problem with this variance because of a couple of factors. One, the safety of the two children and an area large enough for them to play safely, plus their dogs. Two, I like the fence personally because it keeps some of the noise from the trucks coming down School Road. I live basically 3 houses away down to their back. So fence protects me from the noise. That's basically it. Also, oh, I'm sorry. I think because of the grandfather's clause, the fence has been up there since at least 1982. So not that one, the one previous, that one was, there was one before that. So I'm thinking that if people see that and it's been there the entire time, that I see nothing wrong with it. And I also think it's a plus. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Cheryl Bench, 8095 Buckland Drive, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45249. Eric has been our neighbor for quite a while, and when they started putting up this new fence, I just think it adds to the neighborhood. Everybody was saying, oh, they're getting a new fence, looks nice. And Eric was talking about those darn semis. I'm fed up with them. They need to slow down, and like he said, we don't have any sheriffs in there. They're flying. I'm retired, my husband's retired. We watch them every day just passing each other. What's the speed limit for a semi on School Road?
25,
Oh, 25?
35 minutes.
Huh. Won't you try 50 or 60?
Well, that's
And-
not a speed limit. That's how fast they're going.
That's how fast they're
You asked me
going.
the speed limit.
Yeah, okay. Then shouldn't they be following the speed limit?
Well, of course.
Well, they're not. You know, and like he's got little Violet there, the dogs. I mean, if the fence, if they'd have to take it, remove it, what are they, those semis are gonna, and the noise. My dishes have been broke, my pictures are lopsided because I live right across from them and I'm right there. You ought to see my house. I'm fixing them. Is there any way those semis can go another way? I
That's-
mean,
That's not the purview of our organization here.
that's, I mean, the semis is a big part. And like you said, the neighbors are partying till 10 o'clock the next morning. They start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, I watched their animals while they went out of town, and the sheriffs have come and talked to me about it, want to know what's going on at the neighbors. I said, well, they've been partying since 2 o'clock and they're still a partying, and it's the next day. So the nice fence helps with all that sound and stuff. I mean, like everybody's saying, it's a nice looking fence. It helps our neighborhood. I mean, there's a lady down the road that's on the corner and she's got a fence just like theirs. Why, you know, she's got hers up and nobody said anything to her.
Yes, we have.
You have?
Yes.
Well,
I know exactly which fence you're talking about.
okay, so she's still got her fence.
She's planning on moving it when the weather breaks. So she has told us that.
In fact, the applicant made a complaint about that fence and we're proceeding with that case as we are with this case.
Okay.
I understand your issues with the trucks. Have you talked to the township?
Yes, I went and
Have you
talked.
talked, wait, have you talked to the trustees?
Yes, I even went down there and talked to the people that runs the trucking company. And their answer was to me, you gotta get out there and get license plate numbers and tell me what color truck it is and blah, all this. But if they're running up and down at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then they start at 5 o'clock the next morning, the school buses are picking up kids at 6 o'clock. It's dark out there.
Well, I understand. I think Mr. Luger's explained it. That's not the purview of this
Yeah.
board, but
But it helps
and
with,
Eh,
have you address the township or the trustees, I think would be.
As a staff member, one thing I'll do tomorrow is I will email the lieutenant that's involved with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. And I will make note of this meeting. I'll make note of the concerns. And then I will pass it on to him. And in such cases, they can do things like increase patrols. I don't manage the speed sign, but they can do, you see the speed signs, which actually take the data and then they can see what is the speeds actually.
yeah,
it
what
stores
is
that
the
data.
speed? Like I said, it's rocking my house. and
I will email Lieutenant Tar and let him know that this was a concern of the residents.
But, having that nice fence up helps with the sound and, like I said, they're going 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm retired, but these other people's gotta sleep. But I think it's a nice fence. I don't have any problem with it. I'm right across the street from them. So I think it's a very nice fence.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak?
I'm their next door neighbor. I'm Lauren DuPont, 8092 Buckland Drive. I just don't see an issue with it, period. It's not a public safety issue. You can perfectly see the road to pull out left or right. It's more so just for their safety, for their dog's safety, for their child's safety. It makes the yard look nice. It makes it look nice when you're pulling up School Road and pulling down into our street. I think it adds to the property value. I have a privacy fence right next door. To me, I don't really think it's fair that I'm entitled to it and they are not, just because of where their yard is located. I just don't see the issue with it personally. And again, I'm catty corner to their next door neighbors too. So the next door neighbor's backyard is completely up to mine. And those neighbors are a nightmare. They are partying all night. They have trash all in the yard. They're throwing stuff everywhere. I have dogs as well. So, I've had those same issues, but my privacy fence makes my animals protect it and not theirs. So I just personally don't see the issue with it. So.
Thank you.
One question for Kevin. Kevin Clark is our inspector. Kevin, have you received any complaints related to, it seems like this other property is a theme in terms of the trash in the yard. Have you received any complaints about that?
Yeah, I have removed a car that was in their front yard for for a long, long time, actually. We cited them for it. They never moved it. So the trustees actually ruled to make it a nuisance. They had so many days to move it and they never did. So we removed the car out of the front yard. Other than that, I've never had any calls about the trash or anything. No.
I see.
So I've never gotten a call for that, but we did remove a car out of the front yard.
So just with the township will even take an anonymous complaint. So if there is concerns about trash, we will take an anonymous complaint. We will start a process on it. And if we have to take it to court or whatnot, we will seek and to get it cleaned up. So there's that process.
So
if
you
there's
guys can get in
questions.
touch with the sheriff's office too. I guarantee you they've been called that house a dozen times or more.
We're happy to take any complaints about property maintenance or zoning.
They're doing a little open burn behind the house, and where the yellow turns into the gray on the fence line there, right around the back corner of the house, they had.
Yeah, in that case,
Trash being burned in the backyard.
Yeah, in that case, you would just want to call the Sycamore Township Fire Department and they would
When they do that.
they can come up and look at that.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak?
Good evening. My name's James Salmon. I'm the attorney for the applicant with the firm Rolfus Henry downtown. We're at 18 West 9th Street. I would echo the concerns that Mr. Feeler outlined with respect to the safety issues for his daughter. I think that that was a primary motivating factor for him to try and get this done and get this problem solved. I've submitted a brief in support of the application. And at the very tail end, I think Bates labeled that, there are photos of the backyard and the cars at that property next door. And I think I had seen the car at one point in time that you mentioned having removed. That's been an ongoing issue. It looks like if you scroll back through the timeline on Google Maps, you'll see the multiple cars parked in that driveway at various points in time. And I think you've heard from the various witnesses today that this is an ongoing issue with them parking in that right of way and flowing over off their property into the right of way behind where the applicant's yard is located. I understand that. So the safety issue for the children is probably the most compelling thing, I think, with respect to the request for the variance on the hardship front. And then just as a legal matter, I think that Ohio Revised Code, 413.15 addresses the issue of the prior conforming use. And the statute calls for an abandonment on a 6-month or 2-year basis, depending. And it's not, the case that you come out of the ground and back in the ground in the same place. Today is the first I've heard of the issue with respect to the potential encroachment on Hamilton County's right of way. And I'll discuss that in some more detail with my client. We think that the variance is well supported, that it's a safety issue for the children and the dogs, and getting some separation from these neighbors that really prompted the replacement of the fence. That old split rail fence was very deteriorated. There are, if you look back through the various photographs that are captured in Google Maps or in Cages at various points in time, it was, the applicant updated it, put new boards in, and it continued to deteriorate. And then there was a tree in that corner that blew down or fell down and crushed the fence. And they had to clean that up. And so based on everything we've heard today, I think it's understandable why someone would want to, put in the more substantial fence to protect the children, both from, the neighbors and the highway traffic and the noise in that area.
I don't think that any of us are against anything that would, put the children at any risk. I don't think that that's our issue. The issue is the overall aerial size of the fence. That's the issue as far as I'm concerned. We correct? I mean, nobody's going to argue that, the hell with the children.
Right.
We all want to save the children and the dogs, and I totally understand the situation, but there are ways to make, we think, to make both sides happy. And it sounds as if you don't want to budge.
So, James, do you have the slide of the Ohio Revised Code, what it states? Do you have that in there?
Yeah, it's at the front of the memo. I mean, the argument today, I think, is based on the proposition that they put on the table with respect to whether it's a hardship. And we're trying to put forward evidence with respect to the hardship. This is a legal argument that, we can fall back on, but, if we can find a resolution at some point.
I have a
based
question.
on
I have a
the-
question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that the Ohio Revised Code dealing with nonconformances allows for the replacement of a larger and different type of structure in place of the previous nonconformity.
Yeah, that's gone both ways in the case law that's interpreted the statute, but there are definitely circumstances in which an upgrade over the existing non-conforming use has been approved on appeal. Most of these cases are not folks like the applicant who are just trying to protect their backyard. Most of those cases are junkyard cases and
Yeah,
lots of
and
other
I'm really I'm really
scenarios.
getting to, if I had a non-conforming 2-foot high chain link fence that was non-conforming, can I put up an 8-foot high or a 10-foot high brick wall in its place as a fence and still say it's the continuation of the previous nonconformity?
There have been some cases involving the fences around the properties of the junkyard dealerships that get close to that extreme. I don't think we're in that case here because the new non-conforming fence would otherwise be conforming except for the location. And I think that's our rub here.
Moving away from the legal argument and back to the issue of the hardship, would you agree that the proposed alternative site arrangement still provides the various protections that you've outlined that you're requesting the hardship for? I mean, I would think that moving the fence to the alternative site arrangement would still allow for the children to play. It would still allow for the dogs to roam. It would still keep out the sound and the debris from the neighbors, with the exception of the cars being consistently parked on the right of way.
Create a larger area for them and more cars to be there.
Yeah, I think the concern, I think that when you look at the image that's on the screen right now, the dark green / gray area, house and new backyard, but that wide open space would be available for these neighbors to really continue to do what they've done in the past and to pull, cars in on party weekends. And, I understand why he went wide with it. And I understand your point that, drawing it back down would protect the kids and protect the dogs. I think it would open up this other issue. I think frankly that maybe some compromise here would be somewhere in between. Like I said, this is the first time I'm learning that we have an issue with potential encroachment into the Hamilton County right of way. That's a separate problem from what you guys are dealing with that I think we will have to address. And, that maybe we can find some common ground there, but I think it would be worth a discussion.
Are you indicating sort of a slippery slope here? Are you indicating that these people will be parking their cars on your property?
They have in the past. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Whole neighborhood.
That's
That's
kind of a,
All the witnesses agree.
that's kind of a different issue though, isn't it?
It is a different issue, but what I'm saying is that becomes a new hardship if we adjust the way we're contemplating here. So, maybe there's some, I think there's some common ground here that we can probably find.
You said it encroaches.
Sir, if you go up to the microphone, please.
So you guys said it encroaches a foot into the right of way. I'd be more than happy to move it 2 feet back. So there's room for the right of way.
There's,
It gets out of the right of way. I still have my legal non-conforming use.
have they parked that space now that exists now between the fence and the road? People
does.
park there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's, well, not, since it's been winter time, they haven't. Their party has been like, low down in the winter time, but.
So the fence really isn't gonna stop them from parking.
Well, it stops them, no, but what they'll do now is they'll park and I'll show you, they'll just hang half their car. Is hanging out into the road.
Okay.
Their car's hanging out into the road.
Yeah, because I almost hit one of them one day.
So if I move it-
Yeah.
when I move it back, now there's gonna be 20 cars there.
To the board, this would be a Hamilton County Sheriff's issue. It's not a zoning issue.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sympathetic
It's
to
not
having
hardship.
crappy neighbors.
We're,
I've had them too.
Yeah.
Um, okay.
there any more questions?
I'm gonna go home and hug my neighbor.
You have any more?
No, what I would like to suggest is that maybe we have some further dialogue between the applicant and enforcement, given especially the fact that we've got this issue with the right of way.
So you want to table this as?
So if
basically
we
what-
table it, I think we might be able to find some common ground. Is that, Eric, is that something you do?
I don't know if that sets with them. I'm just. trying to
Well, I mean-
I can walk out tonight, what's going on?
I know, but I'm a lawyer. I want to punt.
You still have to come back.
To the board, if I could address just any comments that Mr. Salmon made, if it's done.
Please.
Okay. Yeah, I would just say that the township disagrees with the counselor's assertion that there is a grandfathering or legal nonconformance for the fence. The fence was voluntarily removed by the applicant, and once that's done, the new fence would need to be put in the same place. What the code is talking about, and I would note that 71315 it's talking about municipal government, and township government is not a municipal government, but all that aside, the code talks about a non-conforming use voluntarily discontinued. They're getting at, a sign that is left in disrepair and falling down, a fence that's even worse than in the condition of what. But in this case, it was voluntarily removed. So the non-conformance or the grandfathering is gone.
Sure.
That's all I have.
I have a question, Jeff,
Yeah.
for you then. If this is continued and then they come to you tomorrow morning and say, okay, let's come up with a compromise. And if the compromise is anything, say halfway, you'd still have to come back to this board and get a variance, correct?
That's correct. And staff sees no reason to table it or continue it. The township's position is clear. The code is clear. There is no hardship. I understand what the residents were mentioning and I have empathy for it. But it was not a zoning hardship. I would also note that section 21-6.1, the general standard, it requires that each of the standards set forth in 21-6 should be satisfied to grant the variance and by the township's report, they were not satisfied.
Do you have any more?
No, Your Honor. I think
Thank you.
we're-
You don't know him like I know.
Okay, is there anybody else who wishes to speak?
I would like to
Get up to
reiterate,
the microphone.
I would like to reiterate what the ORC states. If you guys are, I don't know if you have it pulled up right in front of you or not, if you can read it. It's not just pertaining to signs. It's buildings, structures, real estate, land. Anything voluntarily taken down, any township municipality shall put in writing a minimum of no less than 6 months to no more than 2 years before I lose my use. And these guys are arguing the fact that the minute I tore it down, I lost my use, which is not what the Ohio Revised Code says. That's all.
Okay.
Sycamore Township is a home rule township and our zoning code would govern here. I would just want to note one thing that the counselor brought 3 letters of support. Anthony, if you could just pass that down from the residents. I would also note that the township also received letters of support for the applicant. I'll kind of briefly go through them. One is from Stacy Ware. I can't read the handwriting, but I mean, it is in support.
She signed one of those that you guys.
She notes that it looks nice in the neighborhood. Please do not take the fence down or move it. The next one is Cindy Kokel of 12149 Cedar Banks Lane. She notes that I come out of the neighborhood every day and stop at the stop sign at the corner of Buckland and School Road. That fence is in no way impedes my ability to see traffic coming from the left. The fence is very good looking and certainly should be considered to be property improvement. And then finally, excuse my voice, I've got a cold, from Judy and Roger Peters of 12110 Cedar Banks Lane. Judy Peters notes that called today at 2:25. This is to our John Reagan who's sitting over here. She notes that 200-foot notice. Ms. Peters noted that the applicant should be able to keep the fence as is. Ms. Peters noted that the fence looks good and they complimented the applicants on how nice the fence looks. The Peters feel that it would be an injustice if the fence had to be moved in any way. Ms. Peters feels that the real issue is the house behind the applicants, which is not kept up, which we've discussed tonight. Ms. Peters stated that she believes that the unkept property behind the applicants was one reason that the applicants wanted a 6-foot privacy fence. And that was a call taken in by our John Reagan, who's the zoning assistant. That's all I have.
Okay.
One more thing for consideration, I would just point out that there has been nobody in the neighborhood. We don't have any neighbor that has come forward with an objection or complaint. You know, everyone is positive with respect to they see view it as an improvement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? All right, then we're going to close off the public comment and the board will discuss this and then have a vote. So the public we're finished with the public comments. So let's have it with the board.
Well, I guess I'll start. I don't think the visual appeal or disappeal is an issue. It's looks to be a well-constructed, very nice fence. I don't know if I agree or disagree, and it may be indifferent, whether or not the nonconformity was removed the moment the previous fence was taken out. Certainly, I believe it was the property owner's intent to replace it. I don't think that the Ohio law was written to allow for a increase of a nonconformity. A continuation, yes. An increase, I don't think that was the intent, is the intent of the statute. That being said, the zoning laws are not necessarily written, in my opinion, for full potential use of a property, as long as there is reasonable use of the property and putting the fence in line with the edge of the building, which happens to be in line with the front of the house that is the problem house, apparently. That, to me, provides for reasonable use of the backyard. So I'll leave it at that for now. Those are some of my comments.
Well, my comment is that this is exactly what the township didn't want, is this fence in the front yard. It's exactly, we had it discussed 2 years ago because these cases were coming up more often back then. And we sent it to them and they came back and their answer was, no, we don't want fences in the front yard, even if it's corner lot. My idea is that we approve as what the staff recommended.
I agree. I agree.
Somebody want to make a motion?
We almost just did it.
I move that we, I don't know how to say this again.
we have-
Till we follow the staff recommendation.
we have to.
Do we have to, I want to ask staff,
Staff.
can we do with this in 2 actions?
Yeah, you can. I think for the good of the record,
Yeah,
the
to
more,
keep it record, to actually act on the request and then, I guess, authorize an alternative.
that would be acceptable.
Okay,
We need a denial.
do you want me to do?
Oh, go ahead.
I will move to deny the request as submitted on the basis that the applicant has not met the burden of the findings necessary under the standards of 21-6. Additionally, noting that the property owner and applicant knew that a permit was required and put up the fence regardless.
Second.
Discussion?
I think that says it.
Let's
very
have a
clearly.
vote.
Mr. Ramicon,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Luder,
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz, yes.
Okay, let's have the next one.
Well,
To,
I was going
Yeah.
to move that we deny it based on staff recommendations.
Yeah, but you said something about approving the alternate.
Well, what I asked Jeff was that if they, on discussion, came up with an alternate, would they have to come back to us?
No,
And that's the answer.
The, the alt-
So you're saying now, if we want to compromise with an alternate,
So in the staff report,
can we make a motion to allow the construction or the installation of a 6-foot tall privacy fence encompassing the rear yard as it extends the side facades to the rear property line?
My idea would be just to go with the staff.
Yeah, or, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or as identified in the staff report.
so Mr. Tenick, might it be the best practice to read just what I have in the report here, and then it's spelled out. And then you can also reference the proposed site plan on page 4. And what this staff recommendation does is it does grant a variance. It grants a variance allowing the fence to go to the corner of the house. Currently, it would have to be set back 25 feet.
Oh, yeah,
Just for the record.
I understand.
25% of the length of the back of the house.
I see. Yeah, now I see it. When you went through that first, you explained that was in a sense of variance. So I will move that we approve as the staff recommends an alternate site arrangement, which would require the fence to be not to be sited in the front yard, but allow relief from 25% front of the house face setback rule. Don't read the whole thing here. So to allow the fence to run parallel to the house front corner lot, parentheses, school road elevation. See the proposed site arrangement to the right. The site arrangement would allow for a fenced backyard of approximately 4,300 square feet. So yes, that's what I'm proposing. And that's what I was trying to verbalize earlier. Thank you.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll say.
Any discussion? We'll call a roll.
Mr. Ramicon,
Yes.
Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mr. Luder,
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz, yeah.
That's
That's it. For the business.
Just one thing to note, it can be appealed to the Hamilton County Court of Common Pleas.
All right. Date of next meeting is Monday, March 18th at 6 p.m.
We will not have a meeting that day. There is no agenda.
Okay, communications and miscellaneous business.
I have nothing to report. Just a welcome to Mr. Hulse as our new alternate, and a welcome again to Anthony, moving up from the alternate to the full board.
He just said he changed his mind after.
Okay. Can we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Ramicon,
Yes.
Mr. Knight,
Yes.
Mr. Luder,
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz. Yes. Mr. Schultz, yes.
We're adjourned.
Stay here.